Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Susan Rager. I came a considerable distance to talk with you this evening. I live at Coles Point, which is in Westmoreland County. But because whatever happens with fracking is intimately going to be concerning to me, I made the journey. And I'm here to tell you that I was part of the effort which prevented the Taylorsville Basin from being slant drilled a couple of decades ago. It was a bad idea then. It is a bad idea now. Southwest Virginia is an area of leveled mountains, destitute economy, afraid to challenge traditional energy production companies because of their livelihood. As you just heard, there are concerns. We are rivers, we are creeks, it all flows in. We have spent, along with neighboring states, millions and millions of dollars in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act. One small accident could kill all of that. I want you to remember that when Allied Chemical came up with a really good idea, it was afraid of the liability and it farmed it out to a really small company, which gave us Keepone, which killed the James River in significant portion. I want you to remember that Westmoreland has an EPA Superfund site. It was the site of chrome plating of lipstick cases. They removed 550 tons of cyanide-contaminated earth, and there's still more there. They've drilled 13 test wells on the site, and they have determined there is a plume that has gone off-site. The result, Skates Branch off Nominee Creek is dead. What I want you to hear is that big companies are sending front companies, underfunded, understaffed, to do their dirty work. So when it fails, as it has in West Virginia, Freedom, whatever it is a front for an energy company. That energy company has backed up, and guess what? Freedom has bankrupted already. Ask some of the people in Charleston what they would like to do now, because where they live is a wasteland. They can't shower, they can't cook, they have no drinking water.
Ma'am, can you start to wrap it up, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
We have a seismic threat here that I don't know how many of you know about, but there was an earthquake in Mineral a couple of years ago. There were pockets where we felt it dramatically, and in my residence literally rocked and rolled for the better part of 3 minutes. We have different layers of geology here, as the gentleman referred to, than they do in Southwest Virginia. A seismic shock like what I got could sever something that is drilled. The Potomac Aquifer lies under this entire area. It's not just us, it's not just you, it's not just Maryland, it's not just Tidewater. This is a few profiteers trying to make their one gamble at the expense of the entire population. And I urge you not to allow fracking in King George County, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to share all this information with us. I attended the last fracking
Your
meeting.
name, please, for the record.
Sure. Cindy. Last name is Andre, O-N-D-R-E-J. I attended the meeting in Dahlgren, which was very informational, and I gathered a lot of information. I just ask that In your next few months of gathering info and research, I ask for your careful consideration of allowing fracking in King George County. I know that your decision will directly affect many of those living in King George. Though I have grown up here and have strong ties here, I'm sad to say that if fracking is allowed, I will be moving out of this county. My family's importance is their health, their well-being, and their quality of life. If it does come here, it will not only affect the quality of life with the trucking, the noise, the risk of aquifer exposure to the chemicals, but much more. Just as Rockingham County came into other counties throughout Southwest Virginia and also crossed the line in the West Virginia border, I ask that you go into the Pennsylvania counties that have the fracking going on and talk to the citizens, talk to the supervisors, and get their input. It's not just one side from research and other entities coming in assuring that things will be done, steps will be taken. There's a lot more to do than just engineering aspect. Open your eyes and ears to everything that you can. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you, Ms. Andre.
Good evening. Jason Atkinson, Hopyard Farm, James Madison District. I was here 2 weeks ago at the board meeting and through emails with all of you, inviting you and asking you to come attend the town hall information sessions. And I'd like to thank Mr. Bazika for attending and representing us and gathering that information. The couple responses I got to that troubled me from the county attorney primarily is the FOIA interpretation that no more than 2 board members could be present and form a quorum at any of these sort of events. And I understand that in the erring on the side of caution in this case, but I would ask that in the future we ask the county attorney and administrators, if possible, to look into these things and find a way that all supervisors could attend these sort of information gathering sessions without breaking these FOIA laws, so that you can all represent us to the greatest extent possible. As far as the fracking, I don't want to get into a lot of specifics and details. I know we're going to hear from the Department of Mines and Minerals and Energy, and they're going to cover a lot of that. But I would ask that, I'm sure they're here and listening, but I would ask that they don't give us their sales pitch. I know their slides are already made. We've all done a lot of research and read a lot of this. And there's a lot of people gathered here tonight to educate themselves, and as well as our board of supervisors. I would hope that they're not going to give us a bunch of semantics about reports of contamination and things of that nature, and be straightforward and forthcoming with the information. In my mind, it's incumbent upon those alleging contamination, not upon them, I'm sorry, to prove that it is indeed contamination, but upon the companies to prove that it is not a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson.
My name is Jim Buckley. I live on Piney Green. I just have one thought. Any good plan, any good group of planners always plans the last step first. As a town leadership, you need to ask this. If it fails, what's your backup plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley.
Hello, my name is Emily Martin, and I'm a local resident of King George County, and I'm part of the Shiloh voting district. And I attend the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School for Marine and Environmental Science. And personally, I have some questions and concerns for the possibility of fracking in our county. Now, I've studied fracking in my Marine Environmental Science class, and it personally brings concern to me, and it also brings concern for the future of our county. And just some of the things that have that are personal concerns to me would be the amount of water being used and its effect on our ecosystem, the specific chemicals being used, because some of the chemicals that have been previously used in hydraulic fracturing have been also known carcinogens, and that's kind of bad for the environment. The location of drilling sites and the proximity to important sites like are they going to be drilling near my school? Are they going to be drilling near the elementary schools? Is it going to disrupt school? Because, well, that's important because the children that are in schools are the future of our county and the future in general. And as I said before, it would be how would it affect the water table and aquifer? And since we are located near both the Rappahannock and the Potomac rivers, and it would most likely have an effect necessarily, and I'm not saying that, like, I'm not trying to say one way or the other, but it's important to definitely consider all sides of the argument. And I just have a few personal questions, and that would kind of be, I guess this would probably be more for the mining, the Department of Mines, Minerals and Energy, and that would be more so like, where would you store the wastewater that is produced from the fracking, and does our county actually have the facilities to properly treat the wastewater coming from the fracking? That's a very important thing. And like, for the actual fracking, what positive benefits will be brought along with like the fracking to like our county? Like, will they outweigh the risks, and will the rewards outweigh the risks, or will it be vice versa? And I really find that it's really important to consider for the future education of our county and our community to strongly consider both sides of fracking and to just look. And I strongly consider that to look towards the future and look towards our children. Are we going to affect our children's lives or our children's children's lives? Are we going to go and change the water table and pollute the drinking water? Not necessarily saying it's happened. There's been recorded incidents in West Virginia and Pennsylvania that have been like, you can't go back once you've made a mistake. You can't go back. It's not like you can just clean it up. It has a lasting effect and a permanent effect on the water quality and the overall health of the bay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Madam, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for listening to us this evening. My name is Kara Pekar, P-E-K-A-R. I live at 8112 Harrison Drive in Presidential Lakes. I'm concerned about fracking, or the potential for fracking in King George for several reasons. First, I know that the financial incentive for landowners is fairly large, but most of us won't share in that incentive. We will, however, bear the impact and the risks without any compensation. What are the probable impacts? Well, fairly obviously there would be an increase in truck traffic on our roads, which would put wear and tear on our roads and increase the likelihood of traffic accidents. We've already lost a number of people in this county to accidents in the last few years. That's a major concern for me. Another issue is traffic noise and the noise from drilling and recovery. And if well water is used for the fracking, then obviously there's the potential for depletion of our aquifer even further than it already has been depleted. I gather that it has dropped significantly in the last few decades. The potential risks, though, are even more worrisome. Something that I haven't heard mentioned in any of the meetings yet is property values. And in doing some research, I saw several reports that suggest that property values can and probably will go down in an area that allows fracking. In Pennsylvania and elsewhere, mortgage lenders have already refused mortgages for houses on land with a drill site or even near a drill site. And buyers may be reluctant to buy a house in a region where fracking is allowed or has been allowed because of the potential for groundwater contamination either now or in the future. Which brings me to the other obvious concern that everybody's been talking about, water contamination. In 2011, there was an EPA draft report that linked fracking to shallow and deep water groundwater contamination in Pavilion, Wyoming. They found levels of benzene, xylene, gasoline, and diesel fuel in shallow groundwater supplies that they linked to wastewater pits. They found chloride, isopropanol, diethylene glycol, triethylene glycol, and TERT butyl alcohol in the deeper test wells. The residents were warned not to drink the water and to leave their windows open when they shower. These chemicals are, as Emily mentioned, some of them are carcinogens, some of them are contact irritants. They definitely don't belong in the drinking water, and they were found at levels that far exceeded safe levels. Accidents happen. No matter how safe they try to make it, we know accidents happen. You only have to look at the spill, the chemical spill in Charleston, West Virginia, pipeline leaks that occurred in 2012 and 2013 in various parts of our country, and the Deepwater Horizon disaster. All of those were supposed to be safe, but they weren't. It would only take one accident, one well out of how many possible wells, to have a fracture, to leak, and contaminate either the shallow groundwater or the aquifer, or both, or a surface leak to send nasty, nasty chemicals into the rivers and hence into the bay. There is no amount of money that can compensate for the loss of safe drinking water. And as Emily pointed out, you can't put it back once it's been ruined. There are other jurisdictions that are worried about this. City officials in Washington, D.C. are opposing fracking in the George Washington National Forest because they get their drinking water from the Potomac, and the Potomac has its headwaters in the George Washington National Forest.
Can you wrap it up?
Yes. Officials in Dallas, which is no stranger to oil revenue, ban fracking within the city limits. If they're concerned, shouldn't we be? Finally, the gas and oil are down there. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to disappear. Why don't we wait 10 or 15 years for better information, better tests, more studies, and maybe for the technology to improve before we make a decision that could permanently alter or affect the health and well-being of our area. We've got everything to gain and nothing to lose by waiting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. My name is Andrew Green. I'm from Cairns Lane here in Brookhaven Estates. As you hear tonight, a lot of concern from my neighbors, fellow citizens. I put this on the level of, with all the concerns about truck traffic, seismic events, everything going on wrapped up in this situation. I look at it from cradle to grave. We're in the cradle here, the infancy. Okay, this is where the majority of the major impacts are decided upon. Okay, right now. And as you can see, we're very engaged in this. The community is very concerned. You may hear pushback from people. Economic impact, national security. This is a national resource. My answer to that is this: water is life. Okay, without water, you have no life. Without clean water, you have nothing. No prosperity, nothing. We can live without cheap oil, cheap gas. It may hurt. It may be painful. It may not be as prosperous. But we can live. You poison the water, you have no life. Okay, so that's where I come from on this. I am a 10-year resident of the county. I plan on being here for quite some time. I'm raising my children in this county. I intend to have them here for a while. I don't want to go anywhere. It's a nice county. So I came. Close to work, everything works. I don't want to have to pack up everything and go because my well water just went bad and I can't do anything about it. Okay, water's life. And this is not just me, but my children. Possibly my children's children, if they decide to live in this area and like it here. So I ask that in this infancy of this process, we keep our eyes open, we dig, dig for information. Don't take it at face value, dig on our own. I'm sure we all will. As you hear from my fellow citizens, they will be, and will be watching. And as a final note, I'd like to caution the board. Several political entities in recent times have taken on controversial topics and tried to hide deliberations by going away from official emails, official channels, channels which they wish to not see the light of day. Please don't go down that route. Keep your communication lines open, keep them to the official lines, because frankly speaking, with all the concern in this county, they're going to be watching and they're going to be hunting. So if someone steps out of line, I don't want to see that. It's just bad all around. So let's keep it, as we said before, civil, open minds, okay? Because I really don't want to be reading in the paper how someone somewhere did something and it just all falls apart. I really don't want to see that, because I like this county. I really do, and I don't really want to be embarrassed to be from here. Okay? So I'm sorry that I'm a little bit rambly here, but again, it's the cradle part is very important. So please, let's not shut down the debate. Let's keep it rolling, because as the lady said before me, we lose nothing by waiting and deliberating. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, concerned citizens of King George County. My name is Bob Harvey. I live on Comanche Ridge here in the county. I moved here 10 years ago because I felt this was going to be a place where I could have clean air, clean water. And if you recall, King George County was said this is one of the best places in the United States to move to raise your family, and you'll be safe here. That's a concern to me tonight. A number of things that I was going to speak on have already been touched upon. One of these things that we've been talking about is the chemicals. There are over 750 chemicals that they use in hydraulic fracking operations. A lot of them are carcinogens. They're hormone-changing things that affect children and whatever. However, there are a lot of additives that can go into these chemicals which they do not have to divulge because they are trade secrets for that particular company that wants to drill. We don't know what they are. You can't get that information. So we're putting unknowns into the soil. I think we need to consider that. We've heard the concerns about where we're going to dump the wastewater that comes from this. There's a number of those issues that need to be addressed, and I believe the board will do that. Everybody in King George County, and I believe as we go down, get their water from the aquifer that runs through here. Essex, Caroline, Westmoreland, King George, we're all in the same boat. So if they start here, it goes downstream and they get the full effect, and we get hand parts, but they're affected. So we need to look at that. Another thing that concerns me is we have Dalbury, which is a cleanup site. We have cancer. Cancer is overabundant in King George County. Every day I hear of a new person who has cancer. Mr. Howard here hears that in our church every Sunday morning a new person has cancer. There's something wrong here. I can't put my finger on it, but it's a problem. It's something that we need to talk about. I'm dependent on the water here in the county. And I encourage each of you to start looking at this. We've heard about big oil coming in, and that's what it's about. It's about greed, money. And someone has alluded to it here a few moments ago that if someone does have fracking done on their property and they come up with the gas or oil, it's their money, they're going to keep it. You're not going to see it. They'll pay their taxes. That's about it. No one else will benefit. But I want King George to stay a safe place to work, play, raise families. That can all change if a bad decision is made. I was over to the zoning office and I talked with Jack Green, and Jack Green says that no drilling can currently be done in King George County without your permission. Your permission. We're electing you, and we ask you to please hear our concerns. And what I've heard here tonight mostly has been negative on doing this. I would ask you to consider that. The other thing is on fracking is they do not have to comply with all of the regulations of the Safe Drinking Water Act. You need to identify that as a problem. They're not concerned whether you've got drinking water. They will drill. If they don't get it, they're leaving, and they're going to leave the residual effects in the ground. What this man talks about for future generations. we have to look at them also. So what I would ask is that you get into this, you study it, you look at economic developments, and get us something else in here that will make us some money instead of this fracking operation. And I would encourage each person here to let you know via email what their positions are. Your emails are posted online. I would encourage you to get those emails, tell them what your positions are, flood them like we do the White House when they make bad decisions. So they need to hear from us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Evans. I live at Hopyard Farms. Tonight I wanted to get up here. I know this is not a question and answer session, but I did want to ask each of you board members, since you are the folks that will be making the decision on this, if any of you all have a financial gain to be made by allowing fracking, either personally, through extended family, in-laws, and if you do have a financial gain, or if you have a family member that does, will you be recusing yourselves from voting on this issue? It does seem like a conflict of interest to me if one of you all has something to gain financially. So thank you so much for your time. And frankly, again, like I said, I know it's not a question and answer session, but I think we would all be interested in an honest answer from you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Adam Greco. I live on Berthaville Road in King George. Just want to say, Christ be with you. Jesus loves you. I didn't want to say that at first because it puts me in a position of, I believe in Jesus, and he wants the truth from me. And I don't want to be put in a box that this is who I am. You know, I'm that Christian dude, which I am, but I'm also an individual. Of King George County, as you, a lot of you are, live here, and he wants the truth from me, I said, and I've been a hypocrite in my life a lot. I've been to festivals and protests for mountaintop removal, mining in West Virginia. My uncle dedicated his life to protesting mountaintop removal, as well as, which fracking falls in that category. He's gone now, and his memory was a catalyst for me getting up here. I don't want to disappoint what from what I've seen, and I think many of you have, I don't think God hates anybody, rich, poor, or anything, but I have seen that money can sometimes drive people to not tell the truth. So when they say there's a benefit to fracking, of course there is. We all are enjoying the heat. I think we would all be a little less comfortable if we were outside right now. It's the way we live. We like air conditioning. We like computers that run on power that is however that's provided. But, I don't want to be an idealist. It's we have to be practical. I'm not always the most practical person, but as a board of supervisors, you have to make decisions based on what's practical. We need microphones with power, and I said I'm a hypocrite because I've been to all these festivals, yet I drive my truck that runs on gasoline. I enjoy I haven't installed solar panels like I swore I would. It's still a goal. I want to learn how to do that so I can play a part, do what I can, and not just talk a lot. We're all, you individuals I call it unfortunate. I wouldn't want to be in your position. It's a big choice, and what's important, Are they telling you the truth? Who's benefiting from this? And even if our groundwater isn't poisoned, which it may not be, and I don't want to be the one to say that, it may turn out fine. And we'll have all this natural gas, great. But what What kind of people are you if you allow that risk? What is it?